All right, guys, welcome to video number 3, where we're talking about church partnerships and also PACs. Now, I know I said that demographically driven campus launches are the best or my favorite, but I also want to say that there's multiple ways, as I said earlier, and I actually really enjoy church partnerships. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually walk through really a lot of information of the things that we don't think about, the hidden costs or the hidden time or the hidden struggles that can come from partnering with other locations. So if that's partnership with a PAC pastor who's saying, man, I want to come under your leadership, and partnership with churches that are not Assemblies of God, but it's all with this mindset of kingdom building. Jesus was a kingdom builder, and so we have the opportunity and privilege to do that. But what I want to do now is I want to go through the details, all the things that you don't think about or you don't talk about, all the things that are not glamorous, but are the things that you should consider when deciding to partner with a location. Now, I want to encourage you, take a moment, grab a pen, grab a paper, because we're going to list out some things that are important for you to think about. So, number 1, leaders' time and energy. This is such a big one. When I was writing and researching the hidden costs, I talked to a few pastors, and this was one of the big things that they said is there's a lot of time that's taken from the leader, and there's a lot of energy that's taken. But I want you to know that this is so important for you to think about, but you need to do it. And so, number 1, meetings. Realize that when you partner with someone, you're meeting with them all the time. I'm helping to launch and pack with a location right now, and it's tons of meetings, tons of time. So I want to encourage you, be faithful with it. The other thing is it's culture building. If you're going to have a PAC location or a partnership location, they need to know a little bit about your culture and understand it and grasp it. No one wants to have someone coming on their team that doesn't get their heart and their vision. Now, of course, when you have a PAC location, these guys are going to go out and they're going to build their own church, but there's a partnership and relationship and culture that's so important. The next one is vision collaboration. Be a part of that process with that leader. Don't just say, I'm going to pack you, and then say, I can talk to you in a week or 2 weeks or a month. Be a part of the vision collaboration, because they're coming up under you because they're asking for you to help. And this comes to that time and energy portion. The other thing is weight of the weekly preaching and leading a church. Work with this leader and help them to realize that there's weight and there's things that happen when you're thinking about preaching and leading a church. And so they need your time to realize and learn from what you've done. The other thing is be faithful to develop and train this leader. In the midst of the leaders coming to you, and I'm sure they've got a vision, and I'm sure they're passionate, and I'm sure they've learned a lot, they're coming to you because of your leadership, because of your influence. And so you need to make sure that you are realizing that there's time and training that they're going to need from you, or at least a team member that's a part of your team. The next thing is the pastoral leader. So I want to speak to you. As the leader, you need to realize that there are things that you need to be looking at with this pastor that's coming in, their spiritual life, their prayer life, their studying and applying of God's word. Those are all things that we have to make sure that we're considering. Other things like sermon series development. Although us as young guys are passionate and we love to preach, come on, there's wisdom that you as the lead pastor has that they haven't. They don't have that experience yet, and so working with them through sermon series is so important. Message prep. What does that look like? How does that correlate with meetings and family and vacation and working out? All of those things. Like, how does that work in the flow of things? The other thing is staff leadership and management. Man, if you got a guy who's coming in and he wants to work under your leadership, he needs to see, what does staff relationships look like? How do you build and train? The other thing is board leadership. Man, it's so difficult when you're new to know, how do I lead a board? How do I cast vision? How do I help guys who are business-minded to see that, hey, there's the practical side and the strategic side, and there's also the God's providence side and what that all looks like. And so be a part of that process. Another one is decision-making. Man, decisions are difficult. I second-guess myself sometimes. I'm sure you second-guess yourself. And you're going to have leaders who come under you that are not used to making the hard decisions. Be a part of that process. Be a part of the process of vision casting. Help them to see, man, when you can cast a vision and you can influence people, they'll run with you anywhere. And so how do you vision cast? Be a part of that. Systems development. Now, I know maybe as a lead pastor, maybe this is not the main part of your role, but you can speak to the importance of systems. And if it's not you, get your executive or the guy that's on your team that knows your systems and help that new lead guy to see, man, this is why and what and how we have our systems. The other thing, which sometimes we miss out on it, we know, we think about it, but we miss out on just the marriage enrichment. In the midst of planning a new location, you know this, I know this, marriage is so important. The enemy wants to destroy it. And so in the midst of building a church or planning a church, it's so important that these leaders have a great, strong marriage. Don't just let that fall by the wayside. Make sure you're a part of that process. The other one is balance between ministry and family. Come on, we know there's so many families that have been destroyed by ministry because there's not a good balance. You, as the leader, need to be a part of that process. You need to be asking that leader, man, how are you doing with this balance? How are you treating your wife? How are you treating your kids? What's the time that you're spending with them? That's so important. And here's another hard one, fundraising and stewardship. Yes, they fundraise to launch their location, but the continued fundraising and the continued stewardship of the funds, that's very important. Now, this is one that maybe you're dealing with yourself, but so important, or maybe you've got this down, but time management. Help that new leader to figure out, man, what's the time management? How does that look like? How does that ebb and flow with everything that's going on? And so here's the next one, point, outside of the leader, but now just the cost. There are so many costs to partnership with locations, and so I just want to walk you through a few of them. One of them, which is so important, make sure you're doing this, send your pack guy or your partnership to the CMN cohort or conference. There are so many great things that are going to be given to them, so many for launch meetings, so many things that God wants to do in them, and they just need the resources. Send them there. That's what the CMN team is for. And that cost could be $2,000 to $3,000, so just be thinking about that. Also be thinking about Christmas bonuses and appreciation. Even though he's not necessarily on your staff, you are shepherding and leading them. And so as you're thinking and looking at hidden costs, those things can cost you $1,000 to $2,000 for a bonus or Christmas bonus. So be thinking about salary. Don't know if you have the ability to do that, but when you can help a leader who's coming up under your leadership and you can help them with their salary, that's a great way for them to get a heads up as they're moving into their location. Another one, family insurance. Again, these are all the little things that we don't talk about, but family insurance, are you taking care of that? Are you helping them with that? Are you doing something with that on your the salary that you're giving them? Just be thinking about that. Financial support and weekly costs and tithing. So let's just say that they launch and their tithing goes down, be considering, man, is there something that our church will do to support them as they're under your leadership? Another hidden cost to think about is increased utilities if hosting the location at your place. And so if you've given a building or a room for them to use, realize that your utilities are going to go up. So that's a cost you need to think about. And now this is the one that we don't like talking about, and it's the worst case, but you got to think about campus closing. If for some reason there's a campus closing, you don't know what those costs could be. So just be thinking that's something that I need to be thinking about. Things like lease buyout, any agreements that they already have, equipment, debt, anything other. There's just so many unknowns. Make sure that you're thinking about that. Now this is something that's very important also. It's MOU, so that's a memorandum of understanding. So whenever you're partnering with any type of location, I want to encourage you, utilize this tool for that. If you go on our Steps to Multiply website, you're going to find the MOU on there. Next thing you need to think about is bringing a church underneath your 501c3 for a season. That's something that's great for a few reasons, but I want you to be thinking about, man, are you going to bring them up under your 501c3? Are you helping them to get that? One of the easiest ways is doing that, taking them underneath you financially. And so all their finances, if they can start with going through your system and they can build an understanding of what that looks like, that's another thing that's important. Help them be responsible for what leaders do with those financiers. Another thing to be thinking about, covering accounting for the partnership. That's great. Insurance for vehicles, facility use, children's ministry, cleaning. There's so many things. And so as you're looking at all of these things, I just want you to think and know it's so important that you assess these costs and think, man, if I'm going to partner with this person, it's not just saying, hey, I'm here with you, go do it. There are things, practical and financial and time management things that are gonna come your way. Okay, as we're closing out this video, I want you to think about some things, just some little statements to think about when you're considering partnering with a location. Number one, bigger is always harder. So if you're helping them build bigger, it's always gonna be harder. It's always gonna take you longer than you thought it would. So make sure you consider that when you decide to partner and do a bigger location. And the other thing is more is always more, not less. More is always more, not less. And so if you're thinking, man, we can help partner with this location and it's not gonna cost you more time or energy or money, you are wrong. But it's not a bad thing. Just make sure that you're assessing that and realizing that this is gonna take you more. The next thing, everything always takes longer than you think. I'm gonna repeat that. Everything always takes longer than you think. So consider that when you have timelines and arrangements and agreements, know that it may take you longer than you think, but don't give up. The other thing is, take your time. You're gonna have a young guy or maybe even an older guy that's passionate and ready to run. Help them to realize that God is the same God today as he is tomorrow, and the same thing that he wants you to do today, he's gonna want you to do tomorrow when it comes to planting a campus. And so take your time, don't rush it. Make sure that you're prepared and your team is prepared and their team is prepared. And the next, it's hard to assess a leader's capabilities. The reason why I say that is you need to be thinking about that. You're not gonna just know their abilities just by a relationship or someone you know. You need to take time to assess it, because when someone goes into launching a campus, there's so many different things that they need to have, so many different tools in their tool belt, and that's why God's placed them under your leadership. Next thing, don't take shortcuts. Nothing great is easy, okay? Everything is a little bit harder and it takes longer and there's more things that you have to do, so don't take shortcuts. Don't rush in to the thing that you think needs to happen right away, but you need to make sure that you guys are slowing down and making sure that you're doing everything that needs to be done correctly. And here's something that you need to think about. Can your systems handle the new strain? As you are taking on a new location and you're partnering with someone, can your systems handle it? This is an important question to ask, because you may be doing so much to help this leader that you stress out the systems that you have in place. And so as you're doing that, you need to be thinking, if I'm gonna partner, if I'm gonna launch a new campus this way, I need to be thinking, are there systems that I need to upgrade before I can say yes? Okay, as we're entering video number 3, hopefully you're still with me. There's a lot of information here. I hope you've taken a lot of notes, but this way of partnership, I believe, is kingdom-minded, where you're putting the dreams and the visions of someone else on your back and you're carrying them. And so as we end this video, I hope that you've got the notes and the answers that you need. I'll see you at the next video.